What's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure discussion video. And today what we're talking about is 9 Mezco figures that I feel are underrated. In the last year, Mezco kind of blew up with the whole Gomez and Rumble Society thing. And I think for the most part, that stuff has kind of dominated the conversation as far as Mezco goes. And there's nothing wrong with that because all that stuff is great. The Gomez figures are incredibly fun. The pink skulls are awesome. And Baron Benz looks absolutely incredible. So all that stuff is great. And it's very original what Mezco has going on. It's inspired a lot of people to make customs that are similar to Gomez, kind of like what I did with Odious. I feel like that's something that I could throw in with Gomez and have some fun with, you know. And I feel like a lot of people are doing similar things, and that is awesome to not only put out great figures but to inspire like a community to do something like that. So big ups to Mezco for killing it in that regard. But in the meantime, Mezco has put out a bunch of really cool figures that I feel have just kind of been ignored, you know. Like a lot of times when a new figure comes out that people love, we see floods of it all over Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. Some of the figures that I'm going to discuss in this video, that didn't really happen to, you know, like they came out, saw some pictures, and then they just disappeared, and I feel like people don't talk about them anymore. And this video comes from me just looking at my collection and something jumping out to me and just me like forgetting how cool that thing was. So I start checking it out, start messing with it, start thinking about other figures that I've kind of forgot about. So you know, that's how this video came about. And I actually did a video just like this about a year ago, and that video came about the same way. And man, Mezco has put out so many figures lately that there's just a lot of cool stuff to talk about. So let's go ahead and get into it. And this list is in no particular order, so we're just going to kind of jump around randomly. But the first figure that we're going to talk about is Diabolic. I think this is such a nice figure. I love the body that they used. I really like the material that they used. It's very similar to the material on the black suit Spider-Man, which is one of my favorite Mezco figures. I love that thing. And this guy really reminds me of that. I'm sure it's the same body underneath because it feels just as posable. You could do a lot of really good stuff with this guy. And I just love the fact that Mezco put so much into such an obscure character. You know, they gave him all kinds of accessories. They gave him an unmasked head. They gave him a bunch of weapons, multiple hands, all the good stuff that we've come to expect from Mezco. They really went all out on this guy. And that's interesting because he's not the most well-known character, or at least over here he's not. I know that he's an Italian comic book character, so I'm sure that there's a lot of fans out there of him. But as far as over here in the United States, I don't think that a whole bunch of people know about him, you know. So I think that's part of the reason why he was kind of slept on. But I think it's really cool of Mezco to put so much into such an obscure character and just do such a great job with it. And I know a lot of people like to buy this guy for customs or just for the accessories, but I really think that he's a figure that's worth having on its own, you know, because he's so good, he's so well done, and he's a lot of fun to play with. And you could do like a lot of cool stuff with him, even if you're not familiar with Diabolic, which I'm not at all. You know, I bought this figure with the intention of maybe using it for a custom, but I just never did because I think it's so cool just on its own. But there is a lot of custom potential, even with just the head. I love putting the head on the stealth suit Gomez. I think that looks awesome, and I know a lot of other people like to do that too. It looks good for just like a, you know, like a general stealth soldier, you know, so that's awesome. But like I said, just the figure itself, he's worth having whether or not you're a fan of this character. And if you are a fan, I'm happy that a company like Mezco came along and gave you such a good figure of a character that you're into, that really there's not a whole bunch of Diabolic figures out there, you know, like especially in 6-inch form. I can't even think of another company that's done one, maybe overseas or something, but nothing over here, you know. So I like that if you're a fan of this obscure character, you have a really good option out there for a 1/12 scale action figure. And yeah, he's dope, man. It's a really good figure. And the next figure on the list is one that I am completely guilty of sleeping on because originally I wasn't even going to buy this figure. The way that it ended up in my hands is because I was buying Cable from Sculptable Toys and they asked me if I wanted this guy too, and I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead and throw it in there. And then when I got it in hand, I was completely blown away by the Mezco 1/12 Collective Aquaman because this thing, it's a piece of art. And not only is it one of the best Mezco figures of last year, I feel like it's one of the best Mezco figures ever. I love like the scale effect they did on the clothing. It looks really cool on the shirt, and it looks nice on the pants too. It's a little bit different and it's a little more subtle on the pants, but on the shirt it looks great. I really didn't think that I would like this figure as much as I do. I like all the accessories that he comes with. He comes with all this stuff that is all removable, but when it's all on him, it really gives him that like ruler of the 7 seas kind of feel. So that is really, really cool. He has a magnetic crown that fits on his head. And let's just go ahead and take some of this stuff off because I mean, as cool as he looks with all that stuff on, I think he might be even better without it because he's posable and you can mess with him. And you know, Aquaman's suit is definitely like, you know, it feels old school. It feels very cartoonish. It's kind of hard to make look cool, but the Mezco figure does it. And it's cool having this Aquaman figure because I think it's going to be really dope to have him fight that Baron Benz figure. I think that's going to work for a really cool underwater villain for Aquaman. So yeah, this is a nice figure. And it's kind of tough to convey how good of a figure he is, talking about it like in a video or taking pictures or whatever. You really have to hold it in your hands and just see how nice he is and what a good job they did. And I was not expecting to like this figure as much as I do. It's probably like my second favorite DC Mezco figure. I think I might like Flash a little bit more, but this guy is right up there with it. And I mean, excluding Batman, you know, the Dark Knight Returns Batman is like the GOAT of Mezco figures as far as I'm concerned. I think other than that, Flash and Aquaman are by far the best like DC figures that Mezco has given us so far. But yeah, man, this guy is so dope. He came with multiple heads, multiple hands, all that good stuff that we always get with Mezco figures. It's an incredible figure. So if this is something that you were on the fence about before, I don't want to say I guarantee you'll be happy if you buy it, but I will say that I was on the fence and I really didn't care about this figure too much, but once I had it in hand, I was absolutely blown away. And the next figure on the list is one that I feel gets no love at all, and I'm not even sure why, because I feel like as far as this version of the character goes, I don't think that anyone could come along and do it better, because Mezco killed it when it comes to the Netflix version of Daredevil. This guy is awesome. I know a lot of people complained about the bagginess on the clothes, but I mean, it's not that bad. Like, it doesn't look too baggy to me. And the little bit of bagginess that is there allows posability. So I think it was a fair trade-off. And this guy, oh man, dude, I love this figure. I think it's great. I think it's by far the best Netflix Daredevil figure in this scale out there. Marvel selected one that was okay, and I know it's not exactly this scale, but it's close, but it's a little bigger. It's 7-inch. And then Marvel Legends did one, and that one doesn't even come close to this one whatsoever. And I know if you get like super intricate about like the costume details, it's not necessarily accurate to like any specific version of Daredevil. Like, there's little things here and there that make it to where it's a bit inaccurate, but I think overall it does a good job of giving us a like general Netflix version of Daredevil. I mean, he's such a good figure. I don't know why people were ignoring this one like they were, or talking shit about it like they were, because it's such a good figure. And to me, it's like the ideal Netflix Daredevil. Like, when I first saw this one in the promo images and stuff, I was pretty excited about it, but then I kind of, you know, once I heard that the season 1 version of Daredevil had single jointed elbows, I kind of got scared for this one. I thought it was going to be the same situation, and for whatever reason, it isn't. So, you know, they did a good job with this guy. It's really posable, and I think it does a great job of capturing the look from the TV show. And next we have the Batman Beyond figure. This guy is another figure that I feel like people just don't talk about for whatever reason. The only problem I have with this figure is the fact that I'm scared to mess with it too much because of his side arm blades. But aside from that, this is a really dope figure. It has like a slight redesign from the classic Batman Beyond look, but I think for the most part it captures the look and feel of Batman Beyond, and even the redesigned stuff that they did here kind of makes sense with the character, so I think it's dope. All they really did was add this like plastic overlay stuff that kind of makes it look like circuitry, and I think that works for Batman Beyond, so that's awesome stuff. And this is just such a cool figure, and maybe people don't talk about it too much because not a lot of people have him. He was an exclusive to Comic-Con, I think like a couple of years ago, not last year, but probably the year before. It's kind of hard to remember. And I think as far as like Batman figures go, this is one that we hear about the least, maybe because it's not like Bruce Wayne or whatever, but this is such a good figure. And the next one on the list is Magneto, and this is another figure too that he came out, I saw a couple of pictures of him, and then he just kind of disappeared from the conversation, and I have no idea why, because I think he's a great figure. The only thing I wish was different on him is that I wish that he came with the purple outer underwear or shorts or whatever you want to call it. I think that would have made it feel a little bit more classic, but as is, I think he's an awesome looking Magneto figure. He looks good with your Marvel Legends if you want. He looks awesome with the Mezco stuff, and the redesign isn't too far from the classic design, so I'm okay with it. I just wish he had the purple underwear stuff. He does have a wired cape, which is something that a lot of people were hoping that Mezco would go to rather than their stupid cape posing contraption they need to get rid of that thing. But Magneto was like one of the first signs that they might be going in a different direction, so that's good. And then he came with some magnetic accessories, he came with multiple heads, so he came with everything that you'd want from a Magneto figure. And right now, this is by far my favorite Magneto. And the next figure on the list is another one that I'm guilty of kind of ignoring when it first came out, and that would be the previews exclusive Cyclops. And the only reason I ended up with this guy is because Sculptable Toys did one of those blind box kind of things, and I went ahead and bought one, which I'm extremely happy with because I ignored him to begin with, and it turns out he's an awesome figure. They did such a great job with him, and I think that I might like this one a little bit more than I like the Jim Lee Mezco Cyclops, and I like that one a lot too, so that says a lot. But the thing that really draws me to this figure, aside from all the cool accessories, the light up feature, the blast effects, the unmasked head, all that great stuff that he comes with, is the fact that even with the slight redesign that they did, he still feels comic book accurate. Like, all they did was kind of add a little bit of overlay like design, but still it looks like a comic book accurate version of this Cyclops. And I grew up on the Jim Lee Cyclops, so that's really my version, but this guy right here is definitely a classic version of Slim, and he just looks really, really good. Mezco did a great job on this guy. I would have preferred to not have all this overlay. I think he would have looked better, but if that's something they had to do in order to get this figure out, then, you know, I could deal with it because it still feels very accurate to this version of the character. And it's just a dope figure, man. Like, the light up feature is so nice on this guy. All the blast effects are great. And this is one that I was saying was tied with Magneto for one of my favorite Mezco mutant figures. But you know what? When I said that, I forgot all about the Logan figure and the Ronin Logan figure. Those two are probably my favorite. But still, Cyclops and Magneto are definitely up there because both of them are awesome. But yeah, they did a great job on this guy. And I would like to see more figures from Mezco from this era of the X-Men, like Colossus or Nightcrawler. Both of those would be incredible standing next to this Cyclops figure. So hopefully one day they'll get to them. But if not, at least they gave us this version of Cyclops, and it's awesome. So I do like this guy a lot. And the next figure on the list that I feel is very underrated is the John Stewart Green Lantern. And this is another figure that I just don't understand why he doesn't get the love that he deserves, because it's such a nice figure. It's on one of the more posable Mezco bodies, so you could do a lot with this figure. And I like that they didn't put the overlays in places that put it at risk of being damaged when you're articulating the figure, other than the shoulders, you know, like if you hold his shoulders up in any kind of like pose position like this or something for too long, then you might get some creases. But as far as the elbows, the hips, and the knees and everything like that, it's all pretty free. It just has regular cloth, so you could really mess with this figure a lot, and you don't really have to worry about that stuff getting damaged. You really only have to be kind of mindful of what you do with the shoulders. But aside from that, this is a really good figure. He also comes with a lot of really cool accessories. He has a light up lantern that's awesome. He has some cool like construct things going on. I love this smoldering ring effect. This is dope. He came with two different heads. Neither head is like a perfect John Stewart looking face sculpt, but I think they're pretty good. I do like them. But most of all, the reason why I love this figure so much is because he's so much fun to pose around and mess with, and I wasn't really expecting that. I think that this figure has the same body as Moon Knight, which also has a lot of posability. So yeah, man, this is a good figure. And now we're down to the final two figures, and these two are really the figures that made me want to do this list. I picked these figures up and thought to myself, wow, these guys just don't get the love that they deserve. So the second to last figure on the list would have to be the Ragnarok Thor figure. And I think a big reason why this guy doesn't get as much praise as some other figures is the fact that the Hulk figure wasn't all that great. I know some people like it, but I think a lot of people were planning on getting this guy and the Hulk and having them look cool together. But the Hulk was, you know, it was a split to say the least. Some people liked it, some people didn't. Personally, I never picked it up. I didn't think it was worth the money. Maybe one of these days I'll grab it. But as far as the Thor figure goes, they did an incredible job on this guy. It's by far the best Ragnarok Thor in this scale out there. Figure Arts did one, Marvel Legends did one, Marvel Select did one. Every company had their shot at this version of Thor, and I think that Mezco did by far the best job. The only drawback on this guy is the fact that his torso doesn't really have much movement, but that's really more the design's fault and not really Mezco's. I think for the most part, they did the best that they could with this guy. He comes with a bunch of really cool accessories. He has pretty much every weapon that you'd want from the movie. He has multiple heads. He has lightning effects. He has every accessory that you'd want with this version of Thor. So they did a great job. And I really like this helmet because you could actually flip up the ear things. And that's dope. And yeah, it's just a really nice figure. A lot of fun to mess around with. And, you know, with this guy here, I barely even think about this figure. And sometimes I forget that, that he even came out. And the other day I was looking at my shelf and I saw him and I'm like, dang, that's right. They did a really nice Ragnarok Thor figure, and I never give this guy the credit it deserves. But this guy is absolutely the best version of Ragnarok Thor out there. All the sculpted parts look incredible, the soft goods look really good, and the face sculpts are nice. So they killed it with this one for sure. And the ninth and final figure on this list is a figure that I feel is probably one of the most slept on Mezco figures ever, and that would have to be the movie Black Panther figure. This guy is so nice, and one thing I love about this figure is the material is very durable. I mess with this figure a lot, and I have no fear of the material getting damaged, and he's more articulated than people give him credit for. I wouldn't say that he's the most articulated Black Panther figure out there, because every other company has made a movie Black Panther figure. Marvel Legends, Marvel Select, Figure Arts, Mafex, everybody has done their take of a movie Black Panther, and a lot of those figures have great articulation. So I would say that he's not as articulated as some of those, but I think he looks better than all of them, because just the way the Mezco style lends itself well to the Black Panther look, and you know, it looks lifelike, and obviously it's based on the movie, so it just all works out really well. And as far as the accessories go, he comes with some cool stuff, multiple hands, he has a couple of weapons, he has an unmasked head, but I'm not crazy about the unmasked head. I don't really think that it looks like Chadwick Boseman all that much. It just kind of looks like a generic black dude. And I mean, I don't know. I wish they could have done a better head sculpt. And the most important thing is the fact that the material is durable and he's really articulated and he looks awesome. So there's a lot to like here. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say that this is my favorite movie Black Panther figure. I'm actually going to do a who did it better type of video with all the different Black Panther figures pretty soon. And this guy's up there. I don't know if he's the best one, but he's definitely up there just because of how awesome he looks and the fact that he has more articulation than people give him credit for. You could actually get him into some really great poses, and you wouldn't think that you'd be able to do that because he's covered in cloth. And yeah, I'm really glad that Mezco decided to do this one because they did a great job with it, and it's definitely a figure that more people should check out. All right, guys, so there you go. 9 more Mezco figures that I feel are very underrated. Each one of these figures is awesome, and they each do something interesting to the character that they're trying to portray without straying too far off what they're supposed to look like. You know, Mezco likes to do their own style, and for the movie stuff, they're like spot on. You know, they're very movie accurate or screen accurate in Daredevil's case, but the classic comic book stuff feels classic comic book, but you know, they have like original designs and they look really, really good. So I'm just really happy to have all these figures because I almost missed out on some of them because I underrated how cool they were until I had them in hand and then I was able to appreciate them. That's definitely the case with Aquaman and Cyclops. You know, I almost didn't care about those figures, but then I got them and I'm so happy I did because they're incredible figures. So obviously this list is based on my definition of underrated. Someone out there might hate a figure on this list and I like it, so in that case it's kind of overrated, right, to that person. But this list is just based on figures that I felt didn't really get the love that they deserved. So that's all. This video was just for fun. I wanted to talk about some Mezco figures, so here we are. And be sure to let me know what figures you think are underrated in the comments. I really look forward to hearing what people have to say about this topic because I know everybody's gonna have a different opinion and I would like to check that out. So please leave that in the comments. And I think that's it. So thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thank you very much. Peace.